Good evening. We're elated to be a part of this event today on behalf of OHF, or Operation Healing Forces. I'd like to take you through Operation Healing Forces' mission statement. It's to serve the need of our active duty and recent retired, wounded, ill, and injured Special Operations Forces and their spouses by starting or continuing the process of mentally, physically, and emotionally healing in preparation to return to the fight or to transition successfully into civilian life. Founded by Gary and Tony Markell, OHF has blessed our family and countless other families like ours. If it was not for the what could have seemed like absolutely crazy idea that these men had, many lives and marriages would be left to fight their battles alone. Many lives and marriages would be broken beyond repair, and many family members and their spouses would feel like they were in this all alone.
Good evening. My name is Vince. I was a West Coast-based Marine Special Operator and recently retired from active duty. I would like to give you all a tiny glimpse into the life of a Special Operations community and a little of what brought us to Operation Healing Forces. U.S. Special Operations Forces is comprised of all four military branches: the Army, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and the Navy. Each branch is mandated to extensively select candidates to receive highly specialized military skill sets. The selection and assessment process, along with school, takes up to 2 years with potential 70% attrition rate. During this time, special operators in the making work long hours, often for weeks and months on end, with little or no contact from their families into the outside world. I can tell you that when it is done, the sense of pride in oneself is immeasurable. In 2008, I enlisted out of Brooklyn, New York, and became a Marine roughly 3 months later. 2.5 years later, I was deployed to southern Afghanistan and decided to take the Marine Special Operations Assessment and Selection. After completion, I was stationed in California, not for more than a week before I was sent off to Static Line Jump Master School. This is where I would receive my first life-altering injury. For those of you unfamiliar with static line jumping, it goes a little like this. The doors of a perfectly good aircraft open, the wind rushes in, you're roughly about 1,000 feet above the ground, and only 6 seconds for your parachute to open. In a reserve chute, that's virtually useless. On my second from last jump, I became entangled with the static line and was hit by the tail of the aircraft I was jumping from. While recovering from extensive orthopedic injuries, I volunteered to undergo 6 months of language immersion training where I became moderately proficient at reading, writing, and speaking Tagalog, the native language of the Philippines. During this time frame, I would be reallocated to another company within my unit. As I began pre-deployment workup, I would eventually suffer complications of my orthopedic injuries and require a second round of follow-up treatment. Being told I would never be able to physically perform alongside my peers again, I would begin a downward spiral. As I fought tooth and nail to rebound from injuries and gain back the mental endurance to recover yet again, I would eventually get the surgeon's blessing to attach to a company deploying overseas. I would eventually find myself deployed to multiple countries throughout the Asian Pacific and feeling like I was finally back to myself. Returning from my last deployment, I would experience my last injury before the military deemed me unfit for continuing service. It was a warm southern day in Southern California. My team, eager to return after being gone for nearly 3 weeks straight, rushed into a military transport vehicle. As we ambitiously rushed down the mountains, a combination of mechanical failure within the vehicle's braking system and driver error would end with all 13 of us rushed to nearby trauma centers. I was fortunate enough this time to be knocked out and woke up on an airlift flight to Los Angeles, while finding out over the next few hours and days that I had completely erased all progress with my previous orthopedic surgeries and suffered about as many concussions and other orthopedic injuries as the military were willing to put me through. The irreversible mental aspect began to set in. I was now completely lost, told I could no longer do a job I was so very passionate about. With my life upside down, things at home rapidly changed for the worst.
I would like to take you briefly through what special operations couples, especially those recovering from injury, looks like. Our spouses come home more often than not injured, more times than we usually can count. Some physical, but some mental. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about one in particular that Vince has suffered, TBI, traumatic brain injury. I received the most terrifying phone call of my life. My husband had been in a training accident, and he's been airlifted. All that I was told was that he was breathing and headed to the hospital. That's all the information I got. As you can imagine, I was frantic. I got to the hospital, and he was okay, so I thought. This accident was a little over 2 years ago in June. The recovery and the therapy has been ugly. It's been hard, and it's been lonely. We've had many sleepless nights, horrible arguments that I thought might end our marriage, and countless people turning their cheeks to our cries. We've put on brave faces at events when it's been hell the past 3 days at home. We can't tell them that, though, because they just won't understand. We've had countless talks and apologized more than anybody should have to. We've had to have conversations with our girls that no children their age should have to have. We've been absolutely shattered, and let me be the first to tell you, there's absolutely not enough being done. These service members and their family go through mental health recovery, and there's just not enough being done. There are spouses who are thinking right now that they may never know the person that they had married. Children that are absolutely terrified of their parents suffering from a brain injury. There are men and women out there right now that think their life is not worth living because they cannot take one more day of the hell that they live inside of their heads. We need to do more, and that's where Operation Healing Forces comes in. Vince and I attended a retreat with Operation Healing Forces in Phoenix, Arizona. We were blessed and just at the right time. I had hardly known the man that I'd married anymore. Our marriage was rocky, and we were fighting an unknown enemy with zero backup when we went on this retreat. We met other couples battling similar things. We met our host that lived a very similar life to Vince and had served in the same unit. We talked, and we cried, and we listened, and we shared. But most importantly, we realized that we were not alone. OHF gave us that breath of fresh air that we needed so desperately. We were given the strength to push through and the support that we so longed for. We were given a fresh start to finish the battle that we were on. While we are not out of the thick of things yet, we're well on our way, and we have OHF to thank for that. They have been a huge piece in completing this puzzle we call our life. Without this retreat, I can't tell you for sure that we would be standing here in front of you tonight as a united front. This foundation and their mission is something to rally behind because it matters. Our service members matter, their families matter, and our family mattered to the Markells and to OHF. Our family mattered to our hosts and to the other couples on that retreat. We still keep in touch with those that we shared the experience with today. And I promise you, the future couples that attend these retreats need it more than you'll ever imagine or know. Thank you for having us this evening, and thank you for supporting the IICF and Operation Healing Forces. God bless.